Hi, St. Mark's. I'm here at the church doing some practicing today. I thought I'd talk a little bit about a word you see a lot in the bulletin. As an organist, I tend to play a lot of fugues. F-U-G-U-E-S, if you're pluralizing it. Or fuga, or fugetta. They're all related and have similar ideas. Rather than being a musical form, like having an A section and then a B section and then going back to the A section, the fugue is based on what we call a subject. And so the very first thing you hear in a fugue is the subject. So for example, in this fugue by Dietrich Buxtehude, here are the first few notes. Now a fugue is beautiful when it has just one line, but by definition you need multiple music lines. So in this particular fugue, it's a three-voice fugue. So you have the soprano line that I just played, like this. And then here, the alto line comes in. And then here, the bass line comes in. Now, when a voice finishes the subject, it doesn't necessarily just stop playing. It embellishes on top of the subject line from another voice. So this section of a fugue, where you hear one voice and then the next voice and the last voice state the subject, that's called the exposition. That's the beginning of the fugue. And so you'll hear almost always, not always, but almost always, you will hear the fugue subject show up in each voice. And then at the end of that final statement, that's called the end of the exposition. So listen to the exposition of this particular fugue. On a little bit. So there are also, within a fugue, you have statements of the subject, and then you also have what are called episodes, and that's the musical material in between subjects. This fugue is fairly simple and doesn't have a lot of episodes, but there are a few, especially in the second part. Speaking of the second part, instead of using the same fugue subject, Buxtehude decides to take that subject and turn it on its head. It's called an inversion. So instead of going up, it goes down in certain places, and instead of going down, it goes up. So it turns the subject upside down. It inverts it. Listen to the original subject. And here's the inversion. So if you're listening carefully, you can hear that it's just kind of turned like this. So the second part of this piece is all based on that inverted subject. And then in the final section, the third section, Buxtehude takes that idea, both of those ideas, the initial subject and the inverted subject, and combines them together. So in a way, it's kind of like, maybe you've seen a Where's Waldo book. And you know, there's these beautiful pictures of a scene like at a circus or at a zoo or something, and you have to find the one guy with the right striped shirt and hat, right? And glasses. That's kind of what listening to a fugue is like. You can listen for the subject and see where it's coming from and see what it's doing and where it's going. And I think that's why composers and musicians continue to be inspired by fugues, to write fugues, to listen to fugues, to play fugues, because it's all about discovery and finding new things and new ways of treating that subject while still following these compositional rules. So I hope you enjoyed this little fugue in G major, Fuga in G major by Dietrich Buxtehude.